Yeah, like you said, it's challenging enough to start a new business. And I knew that I needed to have some kind of distinction. How am I different from all the other real estate photography businesses here in North Texas? And there's plenty of them.
Hi, everybody. This is Emily Ullman from Hopscotch Interactive, and I am so excited to be welcoming today a wonderful guest, Rick Fogerty, who is the founder and chief photographer at AccuPhotography in Dallas, Texas. And he's somebody who I met recently and I was so impressed with. I just had to have a longer chat with him and deep dive into everything he is doing to launch his new company. So welcome, Rick.
Well, Emily, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited about the topics we have teed up here.
I am too. So let's just get to know you a little bit better. So I understand that you started AccuPhotography last year in Dallas. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. I'm going to back up a little further. I've been in Dallas for over 30 years, and I've been providing computer consulting services, all that time. And during the pandemic, I shifted and I said, you know what? I want to do something different. At my age, I don't have much time left in my career. And I thought, if I don't do it now, I never will. And so to launch my business, AccuPhotography, here in Dallas, Texas, providing professional real estate photography services.
Awesome. And you were also super lucky because you got into the Impact Ventures Accelerator program. Is that correct?
That is true. I discovered, this Impact Ventures outfit here in Dallas, Texas, and they cater or target basically minority-owned businesses. And so I thought, well, I'll apply. I wasn't quite sure I would get accepted. And lo and behold, they did. I got accepted into this program. It started, I think it was in September, 12 weeks long, 3 days a week, a boatload of homework. And we graduated in like mid-December. And gosh, it was just a huge game changer for me for the better. I had a much clearer sense of direction and areas that I needed to focus on, and more importantly, all the different steps that I had to go through to achieve a better outcome for my business.
Yeah, you were able to go through their program, and you mentioned that you weren't sure you were going to be accepted into the program as a minority. And this was one of the things that I was really fascinated by when I saw you posting on one of the Facebook groups that I'm a member of. You mentioned that you are the first and only certified LGBTQ photography and real estate media services company in the Dallas area. Is that correct?
Yes. So I am a member of the North Texas LGBT Chamber of Commerce. And through them, I'm also a member of the Texas Chamber as well as the National Chamber Group. And through them, they provide certification. So now AccuPhotography is considered a certified minority-owned business, LGBT business enterprise is what they call it. And so that's how I, got involved with Impact Ventures, because I am now a certified minority-owned business nationally.
I think it's amazing. And I think it's so important. I'm a woman-owned business and we're a certified women-owned business. And I think that when you look at the challenges of being a small business and a small business owner, there are already enough challenges, let alone, being somebody who has this sort of a different thing that they're offering and sort of the different things that you bring to your business. I think it's so important and wonderful to get, for you especially, a designation and additional support. I think it's great.
Yeah, like you said, it's challenging enough to start a new business. And I knew that I needed to have some kind of distinction. How am I different from all the other real estate photography businesses here in North Texas? And there's plenty of them.
You've been doing your homework. You also attended Imaging USA, which is, of course, the largest professional photography conference in the country. And so I really feel like this is the perfect moment in time to get to know you, Rick, and to learn about your experiences so far. and to hear your impressions as a new real estate photographer. Well, you're not a new photographer, but a new real estate photographer, and to see some of the things that have been the most helpful for you as you've started this new venture. So I'd love to, also just make sure everybody knows that you are Cowboy Rick. That's how we should call you. So this is Cowboy Rick, everybody. And so it's really great to have you on, with me and to chat. I can't say this is a show, but I would say, thanks for joining me to chat and to tell us some more about you today.
So let me back up a little bit. So I already mentioned 30 years plus in Dallas doing computer work, and then I switched gears and I decided to go into photography. Took me a while to kind of figure out what area of photography, but I knew that with my technology background, I absolutely wanted to have some certifications to back up, what I'm trying to do. And that's when I joined the Professional Photographers of America. And I realized that they had a certification program. So I was like, well, okay, let me study for that. And so I studied and passed it as soon as I could. I managed to pass it on the first try. Can't say it was easy, but I got through it. So I'm a certified professional photographer. And through them, of course, I got connected with the Texas professional photographers and then the Dallas professional photographers group. So they're all kind of part of the same network opportunity. So this year, the conference was held in Nashville, Tennessee. And I had never been to Nashville, so that was kind of exciting. But I didn't really see much of it because I spent the whole time at the Gaylord Opryland, which was an enormous property. It's just freaking huge. And everybody was complaining about how big the place was. Easily lost in there. So.
Wow, very cool. So, okay, so you've been working for 30 years in, let's say, computer technology. You've got a serious computer aptitude. And so, I mean, I can just imagine now that we've come through this pandemic, you've thought about your next step, about what you're going to do in your career, and you've landed on real estate photography. What have been some of your, I would say, initial learnings as somebody just launching your business and trying to figure out what services to offer? Are you more of a person who, researches everything first, or do you just dive in and figure out what people want? What's your business strategy?
When I first got started, I just spent pretty much all my time on YouTube and reading blog posts and just absorbing as much as I could. And I quickly realized that when you start a new business, once you officially start taking customers on, you'll never have the time to go back and figure it out. And so I thought, I want to make sure that I have a really good, solid foundation put in place before I really start taking on customers. And financially, that was hard to do, but I was in a position where I could do that. So I spent a great deal of time not only looking at the craft and skills for photography and video and drone, but and all the 3D stuff for virtual tours and floor plans and all the rest of it. But I was also looking at it from the perspective of a business. My goal was to never have the business set up where it was just me, myself, and I. It's not a sole proprietorship. Eventually, my long-term goal is to have other photographers and a staff working with me and maybe opening in some other cities, in Texas for sure. Houston and Austin would be amazing. And if things go really well, I might open some offices in other cities around the country, but that's way down the road. But I'm really focused on now. And then that's why the Impact Ventures Business Accelerator Program was such an amazing opportunity for me, because up until that point, I was kind of running around in circles trying to figure things out. And I didn't have a really clear path. I mean, yes, there were all kinds of opportunities for like, start your own real estate photography business and it's only $99 and you can learn all the things and they'll teach you the technical aspects of it, but it wasn't necessarily the business pieces. And those were the things that I really wanted to make sure that I had in place. And
So is Impact Venture something that anybody could apply for, or is it just in Dallas?
It is a program primarily for North Texas, but I got to tell you, in that class, we had about 20 people. One of them was from, I believe it was New Mexico. And then there was another gentleman from the East Coast and then someone else from Austin. So it's not exclusive to North Texas, but they do, I think, kind of lean more toward North Texas. And they do ask that for the graduation that the people do show up in person, but they will help fund your travel and hotel and whatnot. So that works out okay.
That's really cool. I wonder, I don't know what the statistics would be of people that do accelerator programs prior to starting a business, any business, not just real estate photography. But I think it's really important that when you do have a new company that you have the advising from outside parties, because otherwise it's so easy to stay up until 1 or 2 in the morning, just obsessing about this and then not really having any kind of feedback. And just learning by doing. And so it sounds like rather than do that, which I did that, I know that part of the business. And I think a lot of people do it. They actually start their business just because of a demand, right? Not necessarily like they wanted to launch a new company and have a new brand. And they just plan on being a sole proprietor. So
some people just jump in and just start and they'll learn it along the way. And I equate that to building the 747 as it's rolling down the runway. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have something where it had some substance before I started, rolling down the runway with it. And that Impact Venture is one of the things that we worked on. We spent 4 weeks out of the 12-week program working on our financial model. That was tough. That was hard for everybody. And now, not everybody in that program was a brand new company. There were some companies that have been in business for 3 years and they're making north of $1 million. I was far from that, but everybody benefited from the program. And that was the beauty of the way the program is set up, because they had different categories for your business in terms of areas of focus, not necessarily not the type of business, but every business has marketing and sales and accounting and HR and, all these other things. But then they had different steps to achieve and advance your company in those categories. So it didn't really matter how long your business has been around, because you all could be at different levels, but you could all advance. The other great thing was all the different subject matter experts that were brought in to talk about different topics during, the accelerator program. And we had access to a pretty big pool of experts in different areas that we could draw upon, set up office hours with them. And the really nice thing is that as an alumni of this program, we still have access to the staff and all those subject matter experts, which is great. And all the alumni at this point. So they do have, each cohort has a little happy hour gathering, and they invite all the SMEs and all the alumni and the new cohort all at one time. And so it's a big, mix and mingle kind of thing. And it's fascinating to, see the people there. It's a very handy resource. I'll say that.
Well, I think that the networking, especially in your local area, cannot be underscored too much. It is so important. And residential real estate. Commercial real estate is a different type of sales cycle. Yeah. It's very different. But residential real estate is a relationship business. And so did you find that, did it feel like you were attending a Chamber of Commerce thing where you just felt like it was pretty random? Or I guess it was a little different because you had more of a warm introduction to everybody that you met and they were there trying to help you.
Well, it was different. I will say that because everybody there is pretty much a minority owned business or somebody that wants to help support a minority owned business.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the most part, I'll be honest, there were not a lot of LGBT people attending the event. There were some, but I wasn't really seeking, those people. I was more interested in finding out, what are they doing? How can I help them? How can they help me? And, that worked out great.
That's awesome. And you also have that leadership, I think, innately. You managed, what was it, almost, it was a larger team when you were working at your previous job and your previous career, but
Mm-hmm.
you have experiencing in managing others.
Well, not managing others, but working with really large teams. I've always been involved with large consulting companies here in Dallas, and I've worked with multinational corporations in a lot of different industries, transportation and banking and healthcare and insurance, and the list goes on and on. But working with a really large group of people, I'm used to things moving really fast. And then all of a sudden I'm working by myself and things move extremely slow. And so
Mm.
that
Huh.
took a while for me to get used to.
Yeah.
Like I remember the day I had to celebrate, oh yay, I opened my business checking account. And it took 2.5 hours. And when I was working on a team with 100+ people, stuff like that, there were just a whole list of things that you would get done in one day. And,
Mhm.
it is different when
Well,
you're
this
operating by yourself.
it's true. I think productivity, and especially when you work from home, initially, or if you have a home office, I think that productivity is really hard because, life does get in the way of things. And it is hard when you feel like you have to constantly switch hats. You're not able
Yeah.
to just say, today I'm going to be an accountant. You actually have
Hmm.
to you have to be the scheduler. You have to be the marketer. You have
Yep.
to be the bookkeeper. Um,
Hmm.
so those things, those roles, in my experience now, Hopscotch, as you know, is like we're set in our 8th year right now, and so I do have a small team. I've gone through those growing pains, and
Yeah.
I think that uh, the challenge never really ends. Though it just becomes a different challenge because
Yeah.
yes, we do have people that handle scheduling and handle accounting and those different divisions, if you
Hmm.
will, start to be things that you do take off your plate. But I think it's really wise. And for anybody who's watching this and who is starting their own business, I would 100% agree that getting the systems in place, and I've said this on, in other talks before,
Hmm.
but getting the systems in place and having that mentality that your business will be big one day is really important at the very beginning. So you don't do things that are later impossible to scale.
Yes, and I would agree with that. Having the systems in place is great. Being able to delegate the work as you grow is going to be extremely helpful. And we talked before with the recording here, but I'm interviewing a co-founder. That's extremely important to be able to have a co-founder when you have a small business. If you try to bring in outside investors, one of the things they say is, do you have a co-founder? And if you don't, it's harder to get that outside funding. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have a co-founder, it will be easier. And of course, with two people, things will move twice as fast. And
Yeah,
I
I've
certainly look
heard.
forward to that. So,
Yeah, totally. I've heard that. I think that it depends on the business model and
mhm.
what is the lifestyle that you want.
Yep.
And so I think that those things really inform how you structure the business. Um, I am curious because you did go to this conference as a
Yes.
step in your education, and
Hmm.
that what were the dates again? It was at the end of January. Is that right?
I went through January 20th through the 25th.
Okay, so you were there for 5 days. Is that
Hmm.
correct?
Yes.
And this is another one of those deep dives where you're going into a space where it's all photographers, or it's
Thousands,
all
thousands of
thousands of
photographers.
photographers and thousands of, probably, or maybe not thousands, but hundreds of vendors that
Yes.
are all specialists in your area of
Yeah.
your business. Wow. Like, what did you think? I mean, I think, and I'm going to show some of the footage of the
Mhm.
wonderful photographs that you took, but I think some of them were like, you're exactly where you need to be. And a lot of positive affirmations for you coming into that conference. Were you overwhelmed? Was it fun? What was
Well,
your first
let me
impression?
explain it this way. So the first year I attended, it was online and virtual. So you did not get the sense of like thousands of people attending. It was like the Brady Bunch on the screen, with, you know, 12 or 25 people or whatever. And,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, and there might be multiple pages of that, but you didn't get the sense of like thousands of people around you all busy, attending all these workshops. So that happened the first year I attended in person, which was at National Harbor. So there it was a big scale at a Gaylord resort out there. And so, and of course, I clearly understood Imaging USA and the PPA, they have done this multiple times. It was put together very well organized, great speakers, great presenters. The expo hall, very well laid out. It's polished. You can tell they've done this many times. And so this year was no different. The venue, it seemed like, was a lot bigger. And I think they were anticipating, I don't know if they planned this ahead of time. I'm sure they booked these things, years in advance. But because of the pandemic, I think everybody kind of came out of the woodwork. And so it was probably really well attended. So the
Mm.
one in this year at the Opryland, it was very well attended. It did seem like they had a lot more people this year. And they're from all walks of life, all corners, mostly the US, but I know they had people from, international areas as well. And the programming was really good. They had networking opportunities. The expo hall, you can see the video clips I put together there. There were certain vendors that I kind of highlighted that were more kind of tied in with real estate photography. So yeah, I mean, some of the stuff for me doesn't apply. Like, I'm not interested in photo books or
Mm.
newborn, backgrounds or things like that.
But they
So
had babies at the show, right? Like they
they
had stuff
do
like
real
this.
live babies. They have, yeah, they have models and moms, and yeah, it's kind of a crazy show floor. Probably not as bad as the CES show out in where is that, Nevada,
Yes.
or no, in Las
Yeah,
Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a big show. I think it's the biggest, photography conference in the country, and so there were a lot of vendors. Of course, B&H was there; they had a huge booth. The PPA, of course, had the biggest booth in the center. Canon had an enormous footprint on the expo hall. I don't remember seeing Sony in the conference hall. Several of the lens manufacturers were there. So if you had questions or were seeking a really good deal, the Imaging USA conference in the expo hall is really a great place to go and take advantage of that. I purchased actually the light that I'm using right now at the expo, and I got a pretty good discount on it.
And
Our local
you look good
our
on
local
camera
vendor.
with that. So what is that light that you purchased? What is it called?
So it's by Aperture. The model is called Amaran 60X. So it's
Mm-hmm.
bicolor. So you can have, cold or warm lighting. You can adjust it anywhere in between. And the nice thing is they have an amazing little app on your cell phone. So you can adjust the light, temperature, brightness on the app. And the nice thing is it will work with any of the lights from Aperture.
Mm.
And So if I wanted to have like background lighting, like I have over my shoulder, I can adjust that. So yeah, it's a nice family of products, and they have excellent reviews.
Yeah.
And then the softbox was not by Aperture, but I looked at a whole bunch of different softboxes again online and on YouTube, and I quickly realized that the softboxes that have like the tent poles that are made out of fiberglass,
Hmm.
it takes a long time to set those up and tear them down, and so it's not real fast to if you want to bring them on site. If it's a permanent installation, like in a studio,
Right.
they're fine. But if you have to go like real estate photography, if you're doing a video or you need the lighting for some reason, setting it up and down quickly would be important.
Hmm.
And I realized the one that I got was by what is it called? Glow. Let me look real quick here.
Sure.
It's it's called Easy Lock, and it's like a 36-inch. It's eight, one, two, three, four, yeah, six sided. So it's an octabox, I guess. So it's six sided, I believe, and 36 inches. So it's kind of big. I have a fairly small office here, but the nice thing is what I did is I attached that. It has a Bowens mount on the Amaran 60X. And then I have two boom arms attached to the wall. So I don't have my office full of these C-stands that I'm tripping over. And of
Yep.
course, my microphone is right out of shot here. So I have a little microphone which attaches to my camera, which I'm using a Sony 6600, kind of as a webcam. But yeah, I love this. And then I have the lighting in the background. So it all looks really good. And I just figured if I have to start, recording a whole bunch of YouTube videos for my YouTube channel, someday, at least I have the setup for it now.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So, did you have any? So, are you? Let's see. Are you using Are you using Sony, for example, for
Mhm.
your photography? Is that your primary
Yes.
brand so
So
far?
I have two primary cameras. The first one I've already mentioned. The other one is it's a fairly new, the Sony A7R4A. They had a revision to it, so it's the A revision, I guess. Has an enormous sensor on it, and so the files that it produces are just huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a great big hard drive that I have all of the images on. Of course, I shoot all of them raw, and then I have something that backs up the hard drive every week on the weekends. So all that stuff, gets moved off to the cloud, so I don't have to worry about it. Because of course, no matter where you are, there's disasters, and here in Texas we have primarily tornadoes, and so I know we've had quite a few over the past few years, and I just thought, well, I'll just back them up to the cloud, and then I don't have to worry about it. So
Yeah, we use. I've used Backblaze for a really long
yes, I
time.
hear that's very popular. The
Yeah.
package I use is actually called, where is it? I think it's just called iDrive. Let me double check that. Where is it? You're going to have to edit part of this out.
That's okay.
Um, I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it is. It's called iDrive. Yep.
Okay, so you're using the iDrive backup, so for your cloud backups, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is smart for anybody,
Yep.
And as you grow your team, you'll be able to hopefully upgrade to maybe the enterprise version, so they can also upload there, and
Yes.
that will be great. Because the assumption is, of course, that your team, some of them will stay remote
Yep.
indefinitely,
Yep.
and so that's really good. That's a great system, sort of like a note to self for anybody
Mm-hmm.
watching to remember, like again, something as simple as that kind of workflow, which brings me to a question. You attended a number of sessions at the show. Well, first of all, it looked like it was a big party, and I'm going to show some of that footage because it looked amazing. I know Nashville is known for being, a heck of a lot of fun. And here
Yeah.
you are with your cowboy hat walking around Nashville, making new friends. but you also had an agenda. You were, you were looking for sessions that were going to support you in your new business. And
Yes.
so you attended sessions on workflow. You were attending sessions on real estate photography. I believe there was a session from, I think his name is Jason. Is it Jason LaVentura from RTV?
Yes.
Talk to me about the ones that you attended in person. I'm just curious to hear, the expo floor sounds like it would be really dangerous, like a very dangerous place for me, because I would want to buy everything. Right. Like me in the Canon booth, it would be all over. But if you are at the sessions, you're really just there to absorb and learn. Yes. What were some of the things that were the best takeaways from those people, and what did you learn?
Let me start with Jason. When he was a substitute sort of about a week before the conference, because the other speaker had to bail for some reason. And so Jason was brought in as an option. And of course, he is with Real Tour Vision, RTV, based out of Michigan. And I was sort of familiar with his package. And I thought, well, I looked at the other options. I thought, oh, I'll just stay with this. So I went. It was a pre-conference session for 3 hours. So part of me, I'll have to be honest, I thought, oh, this is going to be a 3-hour sales pitch. And to my delight, it really wasn't, sort of.
Tell me about that, because I don't work with RTV, so I don't know much about them. But maybe you can tell me kind of what you were hoping to get, and then what you got.
So I do not have a real estate photography system in place for real estate. So I wanted to have a system in place for real estate photography specifically. And so it sends out, it gives them the pricing, they do the booking, it does all the scheduling, it sends out all the notifications, it does the payment collection, and then the delivery of the assets. So whether it's the photos or videos or tours or whatever, property websites, all that stuff. So there's not many to choose from. As a matter of fact, I think there's like less than 6, and RTV is one of them. There was another one that I was leaning more toward. But I'll be honest, after the 3-hour presentation, I thought, well, maybe RTV is actually worth considering. So I'm kind of back to the drawing board. I have to really do my homework and really buckle down and try them out, compare the features, and decide which ones, that I want to end up using. But his presentation was very matter of fact. He had some great, what do I want to call them? Great tips, things to look out for, ways to kind of, do your pricing structures. He didn't offer like specific pricing guidelines because we're not supposed to do that at these conferences, but he gave examples of ways you can evaluate the pricing and kind of figure out what's best for you. He talked about the different features that packages like his offer, and maybe a little bit of why his might be better. But I was okay with that. He obviously has his own business, and yes, he wants to provide some insights on, what these packages can do, but he's also like, and maybe mine might be a good option for you, and here's why. So it's okay. That's all right. So that was a 3-hour pre-conference session. Then the same day in the afternoon, there was another pre-session conference for drone. And that I attended as well, because right now both you and I are studying to get our drone certification.
That's right. I
was very interested in hearing, what this gentleman has to say about drones. He talked a little bit about real estate photography, but it was more general. And so he talked about other areas and, that drones can be used. He talked about all the different kinds of drones and the applications for drones, some systems, that can be used with, drone technologies. One of which I was kind of interested in, which is drone deploy. So
Hmm.
that
Yeah, they're
kind of the
cool.
photogrammetry stuff, like,
Yes.
the two examples I always give is, you go out and you map out, say, a warehouse that's being built somewhere, and you get your computer model, your 3D model of the site. And so the first example was they had a truckload of dirt that was delivered. And the truck driver said, "Oh, it's so many cubic yards of dirt." But then when you looked at the photogrammetry was able to calculate how much dirt was actually in the pile, and it didn't
Hmm.
match what the truck driver
Hmm.
said. So there's a problem there.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
other example was they came out and did kind of the same thing, and they took the CAD CAM drawings and overlaid it with what you got with the photogrammetry, and they realized that the elevator column was off in one direction by about 9 feet. Now,
Mm.
obviously, that's a big problem, but they were fortunate that they caught it when it was just the foundation rather than it was, 3 stories tall.
Hmm.
So, yes, it was expensive to fix, but the sooner you can catch things like that, the better. So those
Hmm.
are, two good examples. So yeah, it was a interesting, presentation by that gentleman. Um, and I actually ran into two of my friends that do real estate photography at both of these pre-conference sessions. So some they were both at the presentation by Jason, and then they were both at the drone one in the afternoon because we're
Hmm.
both interested in both topics.
Did you know about the PMRE conference in November? Did that one show up on your radar?
Yeah. So I've been aware of that for 3 years, and I have a feeling if things go right this year, I will attend it. If not this year, definitely next year, because that, of course, is very geared toward real estate photography, whereas the Imaging USA is like all things photography. So they've got
Hmm.
lots of wedding, lots of portrait, lots of photo albums, lots of different lighting equipment and camera gear, sports. I mean, you just run down the list of all different kinds of photography, and they're all there. It's like thousands of photographers. So it doesn't have a narrow focus for real estate. They do have
Hmm.
a commercial photography kind of subgroup there. And of that, some of them do real estate. So it's kind of a small grouping. And this was, I think, the first time they've had someone on the expo floor that was specializing in real estate photography. So he had his system with RTV.
That's so interesting. So this was really a departure or like an evolution for the Imaging USA conference with the PPA to be
Mm-hmm.
branching out a little bit more into real estate photography and catering a little bit more towards us. I can tell you after having attended PMRE the last 2 years, and I was so fortunate. I was asked to speak last year, but I didn't really know anybody at all. Like I knew no
Uh-huh.
one. One person, one of my friends from Washington, D.C., and we are longtime Matterport scanners and Matterport photographers. So I at least had, I had a friend. But the second year, having attended just back in November, I got a lot out of it. I was there for a presentation, a keynote speech or keynote
Mm-hmm.
talk. And I was talking more about sort of futuristic things, or
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call them futuristic, but more of the new media that people have
Mm-hmm.
been experimenting with in their real estate marketing offerings, like, augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, NFTs. And so it was interesting because a lot of people didn't really have even any idea of how they could incorporate that into their business. And I
Yes.
think that that's pretty normal because when you look at the the way that this industry evolves, and you and I both agree that like in 10 to 15 years, it's going to look vastly different than it looks today. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really driven by the needs of the client to have a pretty efficient product, at least on the residential real estate side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of businesses do thrive that offer, very, sort of painless photography booking. And we've seen acquisitions. For example, VRX was just acquired by Zillow so that Zillow could fold in real estate
Mm-hmm.
photography services. Matterport acquired VHT last year, and they are also a sort of scaling the services model to have
Mm-hmm.
real photography services augment their Matterport capture services. So I see this consolidation, and I see that certainly there will be businesses that are new businesses or businesses that are already existing that begin to consolidate to meet that demand. But I've always said that, look, it's like until the MLS changes or until the infrastructure changes, we're still going to be, for the residential real estate, a lot of the times just delivering the basics, like delivering photos. So when you're looking at your service offerings
Uh-huh.
as a new business owner, did you have to sort of cross anything off the list or how did you determine what you were going to focus on? I know you had the help with the Impact Ventures, and then going to Imaging USA, you probably had some new influences and you thought, oh, well, what if I offer drone photogrammetry, and what if I offer, volumetric measurements of construction sites, and then your brain starts going like
Yeah.
this. Like, how do you I don't want to say curb your enthusiasm, but how do you keep a focus on, I'm brand new, I probably don't
Mm-hmm.
have that many clients and deals to reflect back upon yet and go, well, this went one way. Tell me how did you make these decisions?
Start small. Have a narrow focus when you get started. You can't provide all the services out of the gate. And so you have to provide the basic services, photography for starts. And then
Right. Everybody needs that.
yeah, so once you have the basic pieces in place, whether it's photography, floor plans, 3D virtual tours, Matterport. There's quite a few services that we can offer. There's some more exciting ones that are newer, like the augmented reality. I talked to some realtors and they're like, well, what is that? How does that work? And so you have to educate them as
Mm-hmm.
to, well, if you have some potential buyers that walk into an empty home, they might have trouble visualizing what this room would look like. And you can say, well, here's an iPad that you can kind of move around the room, or hey, put on these nifty magical glasses and you can now see the room through the glasses with furniture in it. That's a game changer. Makes the huge difference because a lot of people they do not have the ability to visually see in their mind what the room looks like with the furniture. But if you can hand them a pair of glasses or an iPad or even a phone, and you can say, well, just move the phone around the room and you can see what it looks like with the furniture in it. And the realtors are like, you can do that? That's like magic. Like, game changers. And then, of course, the next
Yes.
question is how much does that cost? And so
Uh-huh.
that's the catch, because of course they want to keep their expenses as low as they can. And
Right.
so they it's like, well, I think I just need the photos for this property. But if
Mm-hmm.
it's a big expensive property, maybe they're willing to take, spend a little more and do the Matterport tour or do the drone or do, this augmented reality and try it out. Because the buyers are looking for those kinds of bells and whistles, in their package. So going back to your question, starting out, start small, which is what I plan on doing. But over time, I already have, great ideas planned. And I will be adding those over time. And I have a plan, to do that.
Well, I'm so thrilled that you took the time to chat with me today about your plans, what got you to this point, some of the super exciting things that you're doing. You and I are both sort of on the same trajectory in terms of getting our drone pilot's license. So
Yep.
maybe we'll have to get back together and chat about how that went, taking the Part 107 test here in the near future. And in the meantime, I am super excited about AccuPhotography, about what you are offering that is unique in the Dallas market and hopefully beyond in the coming years. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, Rick, how do they get in touch with you?
Two simple ways. You can go to AccuPhotography.com to find my business, or you can go to CowboyRick.com to learn about me.
Awesome. So thank you, Cowboy Rick. I can't wait to get back together and chat with you soon. And I also hopefully look forward to seeing you at one of these amazing conferences in the coming year. So I wish you all the best with all this. And this is really a wonderful moment in time to get to know you and your business. And I'm just excited for all the wonderful things that will happen for you in 2023. So thank you.
Well, Emily, it was a pleasure being here, and I really appreciate the opportunity, and I wish you all the best as well.
Thanks, Rick.
Well, good morning. Here I am at Imaging USA in Nashville, Tennessee, and they've got this place all decked out and branded for imaging with PPA, so it's going to be a fun time. Howdy. Well, I'm here at the Imaging USA Expo, and I can tell you that this is the opening day. I'm down here probably about 1 o'clock. They've been open about an hour, and the place is buzzing, so lots of activity, lots of people. Should be interesting to see what they have this year. So behind me here, I don't know if you can see her, but very glamorous, like princess character. Not sure what that's all about. And then next to them, they've got people here doing babies, and there's like, I don't know if you can see them, but there's like 3 women on the floor with like newborns. So apparently it's very popular. There's lots of people in front of their booth here. So the good folks from Capture One are here, and I use their software in real estate, so that's great. Good to see them here. They've got an active crowd. So now I'm at the opposite corner of the B&H footprint here in the expo hall, and this is basically the order desk behind me, and here they have a little photo booth, and then behind that is where the live talent was. So B&H, they're here, they're busy, a lot of people, making deals with them. I stopped by earlier and tried to get some good pricing on a light fixture that I want to add to my equipment bag. Seems like a good price. I need to double check some things, but yeah, B&H is here, big footprint.
You can hear Hank clear across the next farm.